So here we are, welcome back to the Sprint Championship for 2022 with Club 100, and we're at Clay Pigeon Raceway down in Dorset on a overcast and very windy day. So let's jump straight into the heat highlights, but I can tell you now there's not much to shout about. So we're starting P4 for the first race on the outside of the grid, which isn't the best place to be. We try to get across, but there's no gap for us there, and we end up getting pushed on from behind, getting right deep into Billy's blind, and we're then stuck on the outside as we go through the chicane, which is not where you want to be, as we can see the positions just fly past us. But as we go through top bend, at the end of the first lap, we get a couple back there and manage to get a run down towards the first corner and keep those two positions. It's important to try and keep a good exit, nice and tight, going through Billy's blind, because it meant that you had the line going through the chicane, which we do there, and get enough position. And that was about it for the first heat. Couldn't progress any further. The gap in front was just a bit too big for the time we had left. So we move on to heat 2, where we're starting at P5 on the grid. We want to try and stay nice and close to the driver in front here, so that the drivers on the left-hand side of the grid can't slip in like we tried to do in the first lap, first heat rather, but couldn't. We managed to do that, and that gives us a good run down towards the chicane, where we managed to slot into 4th place. Then two drivers in front of us, we've got Dan Seeger and another driver in front of us, get side by side, so we followed Dan through and managed to get ourselves up into 3rd as we set about going after Daz Teal, who's currently leading, and then I just completely catch myself out. So that was just a bit of a rookie mistake going into the first corner. I assumed Dan was playing for the fact that the tyres were a bit colder. I hadn't done that, so caught me off guard a little bit, and then I ended up scaring myself and locking up. So got it all to do now, and trying to pick something out of this not particularly great heat of what could have been a top 3 or better. So get a position back there as we go through the first hairpin. Another one as we go through the hairpin again. We're behind Yusuf now, who we know is a quick driver, so if we can get on his bumper, try and follow him through. And we actually don't manage to make that move stick. We let a little too much room go through there, but as we go through the right hand fast kick before top bend, we have the better line. But that was it. That little scuffle hurt our momentum, and we couldn't break down that gap to Yusuf in front. So we move on to heat number 3, starting slightly further back, because you get a front, middle and back grid here. So getting quite argy-bargy at the start of this heat, because he's trying to go 4 wide going through the chicane. That's not going to work, as Daz Teal throws some in protest, and the marshals agree. So that was a false start, and we'll try it again. So first corner, a little bit more civilised this time, 2x2 going into chicane rather than 4, but then we end up with 3 people trying to throw it down the inside of us, which is helpful, which means we end up losing a load of positions. We got stuck on the outside there, and yet again in the heat we've got it all to do. Going down towards Horseshoe, we managed to get a couple back through the hairpin just by keeping it tight, and from this point we're just trying to get as many positions as we can early on, because the later we leave it, the worse the result's going to be from this heat. So position coming out of Billy's blind, another one we ended up having to take back going through the hairpin. We've caught up later in the race, and you can see here, like, keeping it tight really was the play coming out of Billy's blind. You could get that good drive, especially if you had a good kart. This kart didn't feel too bad, to be fair, but just wasn't on it today in the heats. Just either couldn't get switched on, or a bit of bad luck, or a bit of both. But we ended up crossing the line there, and some relatively poor results through the heats mean that we end up starting in the B final, where we'll be on row 4 on the outside of the grid. So good things are going to be happening there, I'm sure. So here we are, B final. Not where we want to be. We'd rather be in the A final, but if we can make it into the top 2, we have the potential of getting into the A final. But we get a big old shunt in the back going in this first start. We end up having to be at a complete stop, get driven over by a couple of karts, and then as we go up towards the chicane, we get given the false start flag. So we try that one again. Hopefully this time we're not going to get rammed off at the first corner. A little bit better as we go through the first corner, but we can see I know we get driven over again. It's just the same. In fact, no, it's worse as we see tyres getting set everywhere. I think people tried to go 13 wide going through the chicane. We then have to avoid two people that come to a complete halt on the exit of the chicane. But no false start this time. So we're at the back of the grid, and it's just trying to get as far through the B final as we can at this point. Unless an absolute miracle happens, we're not really going to end up challenging for one of those A final promotions. So we're just going to see what we can do. We've got a few karts in front of us getting a little bit fighty, so that helps us catch up. And as we go through the right-hander, we're able to follow the kart through in front of us. Better line, and as we go through top bend, that secures the position off. We're in the tow, so hopefully we can defend. Then a bit later on, we actually make a move a bit like the SP60 move that was made on us the day before, where trying to take perfect lines to have a bit of extra pace from the kart in front meant that we had the opportunity to slip it up the inside going through the horseshoe, and now we've got a little bit of a gap to have to try and break down. So hopefully we can work together, get pushed along and catch up with the kart in front, which we do. And we get a good run going through top bend as we go down, thinking we can make this move going into Billy's blind. Move to the outside where we lose our toe and it's a headwind. Put our nose at the inside, get squeezed to the inside and get spun around. I think that's just 6 of one, half dozen the other racing incident there. I think wasn't really alongside enough to be given all the space, but equally we had got our nose up the inside, and so a little bit more space maybe could have been given, but it was a bit opportunistic. And then from that point, nothing much really happened. It was kind of a boring race from that point on, and yeah, not the best end to a sprint round one, definitely to forget. But with that being said, thank you very much for watching, and we'll look forward to the next one. So until next time, have a good one.